Today's episode is brought to you by Positively Productive Systems, whose mission is to be the antidote to your stress and to provide compassionate productivity resources and coaching that help you heal and achieve. Be sure to check out both free and paid resources at positivelyproductive.com/resources.
They don't want to toot their own horn. And really, when it comes down to it, they don't even see their brilliance half the time. They discount a lot of what is valid and true about why people should work with them in every capacity. So I think that's the first thing I see people struggling with is they don't want to brag. They want to be and remain humble. There's a way to do that and still sell yourself.
You're listening to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zawrotny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a coach certified in time and stress management, helping clients make space for what matters most in their lives. Join me each episode and we'll talk about decluttering, stress management, habits, personalized productivity, gratitude, and so much more. I understand the overwhelm of life because I'm a wife, mom to kids and cats, and a former caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Years ago, when I became an entrepreneur, I loathed the idea of selling. There are some people naturally born to sales, and I say kudos to them, but I was always uncomfortable with it. Even in my days of selling Girl Scout cookies, one of the easiest things to sell ever, I felt awkward, and I realized it's because I attached so much meaning to what I was offering and how people responded. When I sold cookies, I did it door to door, and my mom told me she could tell on my face before I even got to the car if I'd made the sale or not. I believe we take these lessons and experiences with us, and they can color our experiences throughout our lives unless we make a conscious shift. It's taken some work to get past these essentially false impressions, and I've done it with the help of some incredible coaches. This episode is especially helpful if you are an entrepreneur and have struggled with selling, but you'll realize much of what we discuss today is life advice. Whether business or personal, we deal with offers, rejections, and our own assessment of both all the time. Today, I welcome Renee Hribar to the Positively Living Podcast. Renee has been a sales professional since 1994. Making her first million before she was 25 years old, she has gone on to sell millions of dollars in products and services and train thousands to sell for the first time. She is known in her industry as a fun, energetic sales coach who leads with heart. A TEDx speaker who offers training sessions at global conferences, on-demand courses, and virtual workshops, she skillfully breaks down her decades of sales expertise. With her one-of-a-kind laugh-and-learn teaching style, you will certainly gain a new view of the softer side of sales. In our conversation today, we talk a lot about blueberry muffins, quote Mother Teresa, and dig in deep to how we get tripped up in sales, especially attaching meaning and getting too far ahead of ourselves. Renee covers mindset, reason, offers, and the relationships we create through sales. She also highlights the opportunities of these relationships and how it's not always a sale that happens or that benefits us. People can become clients, connectors, or collaborators, or sometimes all three. If you're a fan of Facebook groups, I encourage you to join Renee's group, Entrepreneurial Connections Movement. I've been a member for years and have learned so much and connected with so many incredible people there. One of those connections was on episode 31, Mallory Schleybaugh, in Authenticity in Life and Business. I highly recommend connecting with Renee if you're an entrepreneur and sales is something you want to improve. Her approach and resources are fun and effective. You'll find free content and links to all her training on her site, reneehribar.com. That's ReneeHribar.com. If you're searching for episodes that support you as an entrepreneur, I'd also recommend episode 16, Self-Care as a Business Strategy, episode 18, Declutter Through Delegation, Episode 20, The 5 G's of Working from Home, and Episode 30, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Now let's chat with Renee about the softer side of sales. Welcome, Renee Hribar, to the Positively Living podcast. I've been a member of your Entrepreneurial Connections Movement Facebook group since 2017. And I've attended your training, worked with a ton of your clients, and laughed a ton with you. And I am delighted to have you here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm so excited to be here.
Renee, would you start by telling us a bit about who you are, who you help, and what makes you light up?
I love it. Thank you. Yes, I am a sales coach by trade, and I absolutely love working with women business owners. Although I have trained thousands of people, both men and women, throughout my career on how to sell for themselves. It's different selling for someone else. In fact, many of my clients used to be in sales for other companies. But when it turns to them selling their consulting or coaching or services, it's a whole nother ballgame. And so we talk about the inner and the outer work, the emotional and the tactical, and we put actions into place. Many times they tell me, Renee made me do it, but then I made $1,000, or Renee made me do it, then I made an extra $100,000. So I guess I'm okay with that. And that's what lights me up, is seeing other people accomplish whatever goals they have. Because although it's not all about the money, money definitely makes everything else easier.
It certainly does. And I think that money mindset, is an important part of this, to understand that you can still be utterly heart-centered and here to serve and to change the world. But money is what helps us have the resources to do that.
Yes.
So let's embrace it for what it is.
Agreed. I don't know if it's true or not, but I did read it on the internet, so
it must be.
It must be. But what I read was Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, bring your checkbook. I bought it.
You know what? Let's go with that, because if that helps people bring their checkbook, or at least fill up their checking account.
Right.
So with that in mind, that was definitely my issue to begin with, is that I've always had this, maybe it's my upbringing, right?
Yeah, always.
Society,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Tells
definitely.
us, okay, all right. And if, it could be religion, it could be cultural, it could be so many different reasons that we are told, don't push things on people, don't try to get money out of them. And then suddenly you're faced with this, I want to help people, I want to change the world, but I can't do it as a nonprofit. I need to support my family. What do I do? And I definitely felt that kind of loss. It was a confusion, really.
Mhm.
It's like, wait a minute, but I'm in business, and ultimately being in business means making money. So is that what you see? What do you see as the real challenge that your clients are facing when it comes to this?
Yeah. Well, they don't want to be braggadocious, as I like to call it. They don't want to toot their own horn. And really, when it comes down to it, they don't even see their brilliance half the time. They discount a lot of what is valid and true about why people should work with them in every capacity. One example I had was working with a woman for about, I don't know, maybe 4 months at the time. And she had asked me to review her Instagram bio because she was starting to do some work on Clubhouse. And, they're connected. And so I looked and I said, wait a minute, do you have an MBA from Yale? And she's like, oh, yeah, but that was like 23 years ago. I'm like, you're a business coach, so I think that people would like it. She's like, it's so long ago, though. I'm like, oh, really? Sure, but, that's still a part of who you are. And I think we should try to find a way to weave that in. She had mentioned it in one line there. That's it. I'm not on her website, not on any other social platform, and not in any conversation we had ever had up until that point. That's just one example of people discounting their own experience, life, work, and their truth. So we weren't making it up. We weren't fabricating. We didn't have to make something look better than it was. We just had to share some of the facts. So I think that's the first thing I see people struggling with, is they don't want to brag. They want to be and remain humble. There's a way to do that and still sell yourself.
Absolutely. And there is something, again, it's the things that we're taught, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that humility means that you can't express something that you've done well. And what I love to do is reframe it to celebrate what we've done. And that's one of the things I love about your group And, having women supporting women, especially, but hey, men too. Come on. I mean, we're all in this together.
That's right.
As people, we need to celebrate each other and to celebrate ourselves. So I can see that being definitely an issue. The other thing that I've absolutely loved is how you've referred to it as the S word.
Yes, sales, the S word. And, as I work with a lot of women, obviously, and by choice, because I really feel women struggle with things differently after having taught so many people, both genders.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversations that I can have with women are a little more specific around how they relate and interact with society and the world. And so, on that note, many of them are mothers, right? And so, moms, we always say, don't say that word, the F word or the S word or whatever. We always have that word.
Yeah.
And so, that's where that derived from, because whenever someone would say sales, it was as if someone had just shot bullets across the room. They're like ducking under the table, like, whoa, get out of here. No. So, and again, like my whole teaching style is laugh and learn, right? So
yes,
that's just my personality. I tried in the past to separate the two. It just doesn't work. So I just have to embrace it.
I know it's going to come as a shock to you, but I feel the same way.
Which is why we get along so well, because
exactly.
We can be serious and funny at the same time. And it just alleviates a lot of the little stress points, little friction points by having a little laughter.
Absolutely. And I think we take it to heart more when we do that and when we can laugh about it and the ridiculousness of it. And that's what you're doing is you're reducing the ridiculousness of it, is that when we say sales, it's not a bad word. It's okay. Mom's not going to be angry. You know what I mean? Your sibling isn't going to tell on you. Okay. You're not going to get grounded. Sales is not a bad word. And that was my takeaway from the very beginning when you're like the S word. And I was like, I get it, Renee. I get it. It's not a bad word. So then I guess the question is, when we come to understand that it's not a bad word, it's not a bad thing, and it's something that is a means to an end, how do we approach it in an authentic way, with integrity? So what are the differences gender-wise that you've been seeing? What are the struggles you see women have more so than men?
So as women, I mean, I have both sisters and brothers, and I have been around both genders. I have a son, but not a daughter. But I have lots of nieces now, thankfully. I get to spoil them. But what I've noticed from a very young age of both genders is that women we're just built differently. We don't run toward conflict. Whereas even my son, who, we very strict, like we don't talk about guns, or I don't know, we're just not that family. So, we're not hunters, we're shoppers. So like, that's not us. So there was nowhere in my child's sphere that he could have even learned that shooting might be fun.
Right.
But albeit when he was 3 years old, he's like, pew, pew, pew. And I'm like, what are you shooting? He's like, blueberries. So, I mean, at that time he was 3. And so that was just an indication, one of many, that we're just built differently.
Yeah.
So when it comes to women selling, we seem to do very well if it's a consultative sale.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the approach that we take. I'm here to ask questions and give you my best advice if you would like it. And if you would like to take that advice further, do you want to hear what that might look like? AKA hiring me to give you advice on a regular basis in a formal structure. And then always opening it up with a question, always asking, how are you? Is this okay? How does this make you feel? So it's very therapist. I always say, channel your inner therapist, because those are the types of questions you want to start and end with.
Have you been listening to my consultations, Renee? Like, I feel a little exposed here. But, it's true, because at least from my perspective, it's always like, yeah, you are paying me for my services and I'm going to help you so much and it's going to be worth it. And I've gotten to that point of understanding that. But at the same time, I always want you to know very clearly that I care. I do. It matters.
Yes.
And I think that nurturing side of it. And one of the things that you just described, I absolutely love. So I kind of want to do the auditory highlight is women do not run toward conflict. Yeah. So I'm not saying this is for everyone. Okay. We're painting with broad strokes here, but.
Well, unless you're like a trained professional. I mean, obviously, like if you're a paramedic or an EMT or you're a police officer and you're a woman, then you're trained to do that. Totally different
Exactly.
story. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right. But in generalities, and there's a reason for it. And it's definitely, you've seen it. You've worked with so many people. I mean, I take that to heart. It's absolutely true. I've always been the peacemaker. And so let's dig into that. The conflict there is trying to offer someone something that they might say no to. Is that the thing?
Right. So sometimes in those very words is the root of the problem, trying to offer someone something. So where I adjust that phrase is we have something fantastic and we ask people questions that would let them self-select and let them come toward and go, yeah, that's something I'm interested in talking about. Okay, great. Would you like to talk more about it? One of the paintings I paint in their head is imagine before COVID that you came to visit my house and I happened to have blueberry muffins in the oven. They would smell delicious. I take them out of the oven. You're now sitting at my counter and it would be natural to do what?
Offer you a blueberry muffin.
I mean, it makes sense, right? However, they are not gluten-free and they are full of sugar. So you could be off sugar and say, I'd love to, but I can't. That doesn't mean I'm like out of my house. I never want to see you again. And it doesn't also mean that I go cry in the bathroom like, she doesn't like my muffins.
My muffins are horrible.
My muffins suck. No, when I phrase it and frame it like that, they get it. They're like, that makes sense. So replace the blueberry muffins with whatever you've got and put yourself in proximity. I say to make a sale, you always need two things, proximity and a reason. So in this case, you were at my house. I happened to have blueberry muffins in the oven. I took them out. It just made sense. My reason was, well, I just took them out of the oven and you're here. Would you like one? But if that now is not the time because you're gluten-free or you're off sugar, then I'm not going to get upset about that. We are still remain friends. So above all else, I protect the relationship. I'm not like, well, if you were serious about our friendship, you would just eat the blueberry muffin. I mean, I did make them.
Right.
No, I wouldn't say that. Right. But like, that's how some sales training is taught. That's not women teaching that. I did learn it that way originally from men who are very different from women. And I'm not saying it never works. I'm not saying you won't get a sale. I'm just saying I feel different when I sell that way. And I need to put more than anything else. And this is what I'd say, everybody, and I've said this forever. I need to be able to put my head on the pillow with a clear conscience every night.
There you go.
And as I get older, I actually do have trouble sleeping. Right? You were the one who told me about those lavender, whatever, sleep something or other.
Oh, the supplements.
Lavender.
Yeah.
Yeah, supplements. Yeah. And so, melatonin or those kind of things, as we get older, we actually need those things. But like, I want to be able to put my head on the pillow with a clear conscience. I mean, I want to be able to know that I made someone's day better, even if they didn't take me up on my invitation to have those warm, delicious blueberry muffins, even though they were sitting at my table.
I'm seriously craving blueberry muffins right now.
Totally.
But what I love about this is the reframe here. Okay. The two big takeaways for me personally, as you're describing this. One, of course, is that the no could be for many reasons.
Right.
And that's the real key, is that we can't let this idea of rejection or that the fact that we're even offering is some kind of push.
Correct.
It's an offer. It's I have this and here's what's going on. And the second part that I absolutely love, and this is something that, has kept me connected to you forever, is this idea of just allowing the conversation to be natural and authentic so that they're deciding. And literally to this day, if someone says, well, convince me that you're the right coach for me. And I'm like, no, I do not do that. Not at all. There's no convincing here. That's horrible. I mean, if somebody's trying to convince you, we got an issue. Now, if you want, I'll ask you lots of really great questions and we'll have a conversation. And then you'll be like, oh, yes, now we're talking, but no convincing. So I think those are like the two big things.
Agreed. Those are the two big things. And then I would just want to emphasize, this is where women, I think, delay or hold back from making an invitation.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid if the person does say no, will they hate me? And that's why I give that blueberry muffin example, because if the person's at your house sitting at your table and you happen to have muffins come out and you make them an offer, but they say no for various reasons, you can still be friends. This person is still a part of your life. They come to your house and that's okay. It's not a big deal. That it doesn't mean I never offer them blueberry muffins again. For whatever reason they told me, I might say, oh, that's right. Oh, wait, do you want blueberry muffins? I mean, I'm going to offer them to you, but you don't have to take them. I know you just said no last time, but that's okay. So we stay friends, and it doesn't mean I never offer them to you ever again.
I love that follow-up because I think that's really important is how we approach not only the initial relationship building and the offering, but then the offering again.
Right. It doesn't mean we're done. It just means we're friends. And if it makes sense to make that invitation again, then I will. But you can still say no again.
Right. You can keep saying no. You can keep offering. So then there's just an understanding too, as you go, as you build the relationship, as you keep in touch, as you ask the questions, you can find a way that works. A reframe that I've always loved is sometimes a no is also just a not now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, I mean, it's a small world. So we like to think it's this big world and it's the internet. So it's everybody. But it's really not. I mean, it's a very small world. We're going to see each other again. So why not enjoy the ride? You don't have to hide if you made somebody an invitation and they said no. And by just talking that through, people feel better about making the invitation because they're worried. It's that foundational, like primal brain. If I get rejected, I get kicked out of the tribe and my family starves, right? Like we haven't evolved that much from that time, but our society has. Because even if someone truly has rejected you, you don't get kicked out of the tribe and you don't starve and die.
Right. And also, yeah, it's the taking it personally thing too.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So is part of our gender thing, at least it's for me, the overthinking, overanalyzing. What does that no mean?
Totally.
And now, I mean, I have conversations with people where I actually frequently know what the no is. You know what I mean? Most of the time, it just means this isn't a priority for me right now. It's not really within my budget, whether it's time or finances. And I'm working through this. And when I know that it's a must have, and I've seen this before, I've had connections where it was a no. Here's a case in point, new client in the last couple of weeks. The last time we talked, I mean, the original, conversation was last October.
Oh, absolutely. I would say half of my current private clients I've known since 2017, since I came on. I mean, since I opened up my business online.
Yeah. And there's an ebb and flow with it. And I think there's also a patience. And so that's the thing. It doesn't have to be sales in the way that we thought it was. And
Right.
this happens every single time on the Positively Living podcast. We take a word and we're like, let's rediscover what this really means, because I think, it doesn't mean what you think it means. Keep going back to Inigo Montoya, because
I love
this
it.
word, you keep using this word.
Princess Bride.
Right, exactly. And it's like, so you keep using this word and it's like, okay, yeah, sales, it means, a transaction, right? It's like you offer something and then someone exchanges something of value for it. And there you have it. I mean, it's that simple, but we, and by we, I mean me, or at least used to make it out to be like this whole big thing. And then we attach meaning, right?
Yes. It's just like money. We attach meaning to a totally nondescript, like it's an inanimate object. It doesn't have feeling or emotion. So the whole overthinking, hold my cup while I overthink this thing. What I talk about often, yes, is having blinders on until the next step. I just wrote like a big piece on this where back in college, I would always be the friend where my friends would sit around on Saturday and they would talk about their crushes. They were like, well, what if his mom doesn't like me? Or what if I have to move for my career and he doesn't want to move? Or what if he doesn't want to have kids? I'm like, he doesn't know your last name. You haven't been on a date yet. His mom might be dead. I don't know. I mean, like, you were still in college. Like, these are 20-year-olds to like frame this out. Not only had they not graduated, but they hadn't received an offer to a career, let alone the request to relocate for it. And they weren't even sure if they wanted kids. So what are you worried about? Go say hi. You've sat next to him in the dining hall, or you've seen him in class. Introduce yourself and see if he wants to go get a coffee. It's that easy. I mean, this is 25 years ago, I would say this. So yes, it's that easy. And they would. And I set up, I'm like a mashugana. Like I get these people together. I have had so many marriages come from my advice.
Oh my gosh. Yenta in the house. Okay. So I have to tell you, the other thing that I had on my mind about the whole sales thing was this concept of how sales is in our lives everywhere. And you literally just gave the anecdote that shows that. And that, in essence, I guess, would be sort of selling ourselves. But it's this idea of, making connections with people, relationships, within that. It's like this idea of what you're describing is that taking it too far. That's what I wrote down, jumping ahead so far where you're like, extrapolating has its place in life.
Yeah.
But perhaps maybe not in the step-by-step of sales when we can overanalyze. Yes?
Yes. And I say this in sales also, like, don't get stuck in the friend zone. If you really do want to connect with that person, take the next step, but don't have expectations. That's also maybe having blinders on. Like, just ask them for a coffee or just take the next step. Don't try to assume that you could possibly know the next 25 steps. And here's really the best part about that is, even if your worst fears come true and you connect and you make an invitation and they say no, every single person that you meet is one of the, what I call the 3 C's. They're a client, they're a connector, or a collaborator. So a lot of these women that I helped, like back in the day, they didn't necessarily marry their crush. They married his best friend or they married his brother. So they were meant to know that person. Something was telling them to connect. They didn't put all this expectations on it, and they would be open to all the possibilities. And that's the real joy that I teach when teaching sales. And that's the fun part, is that you just be open to all the possibilities.
And, there's so much in the way of like, and I know you and I both appreciate this, of like mindfulness and, being present and releasing attachment. You know what I mean? So, suddenly we're getting all zen here with sales, but it's so true, because when you stay open to these possibilities, you're okay with whatever the answer is. So the no doesn't have to mean all the things, right? Okay.
Right.
And then you're okay with the possibilities of, oh, okay, so this person that said no to my blueberry muffins, because we got to,
Right.
keep the metaphor going.
That's right.
This person who said that knows 3 people who would love blueberry muffins.
Totally.
Right.
Always.
Like in minutes, and like texts them right then and there or something. Yeah.
Right.
I love that. Client, connector, collaborator.
And oftentimes, someone that you've known for a long time will become all 3 eventually.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes. But again, no pressure. It's okay if they stay a connector.
Right.
I've had people that never purchased anything from me, but are great connectors to help me connect with all the other people that did need me. And I could never have found or connected with those people if it wasn't for that individual.
Oh, absolutely. When I think of the number of people that I've recommended to your group, it's not even funny.
Yeah, see?
Right?
Thank you.
And how many of your clients now, I have attended your training.
Yes.
We haven't worked one-on-one together, but I have worked with so many people. As a client to your clients.
Awesome.
Right? So it's amazing. But this is the thing, is that we all end up working as a team somehow when we come into it with the right attitude.
Agreed. So that 1986 poster that I had on my wall with like attitude is everything, and I had like the little droplet and then the ripple effect. That's true.
Oh, I like that. Oh, and mine with the kitten hanging from the branch, hang in there. That was also very true.
Totally true. Crazily true.
Especially so in 2020. But
yes,
all that being said, yes. So the right attitude, not jumping too far ahead, being open to the possibilities, and then coming back to what you were originally describing as having a conversation, not trying to offer something, not trying to even sell so much. Yes, there's sales, and I don't think we should be afraid of that word, but it is important, I think, especially for women, to reframe it, to understand what it actually is, right?
Agreed. It's that reframing that makes such the difference. And it's hard to do it ourselves. And that's why I have a job.
Exactly. That you do so well. Okay. So is there anything else that I didn't ask or that comes up that you'd like to offer as encouragement as we move forward in whatever sales capacity that we're working on?
Absolutely. I think that the number one thing that we've addressed, just to kind of repackage everything, is we've talked about the mindset coming in, the relationship inside of it. We need proximity and a reason, and to continue to make invitations, even if the person said no the first time. And see, so the next time you were at my house, for example, and I had blueberry muffins coming out of the oven, I would say, you know what? I've got something special for you. Hold on. I know the last time you said you didn't want these. You can have some if you want, if you've changed now you want to eat gluten and sugar. But I also have these special things, these Parmesan crisps I think you might really enjoy. No sugar, no gluten. And so I would know to offer you something else. So to be able to be open to that and then continue to know that no matter what, you can still be friends and should be because everybody is one of the 3 C's. And all those connections and all that consciousness does not mean you're trying to sell them something. It just means you're being a human.
Right. And offering something to the world, and they're part of the world. So why wouldn't you? And you know what I really love? That was a wonderful wrap up. And I just want to highlight I put be creative in my notes here. When you're offering again, you learn and you can modify.
Yes. All the time.
And that's a lovely gift. And I've done that. And I know how much clients appreciate that. They're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I'm the owner. I can do whatever I want.
Exactly. You know it. So, okay, beautiful wrap up. All right. And speaking of wrapping things up, it's not that this wasn't fun. This was a lot of fun, but are you ready for some more fun?
I'm ready.
All
I
right.
think so. I'm hoping
You're always ready. You're always ready. Okay. I would love for you to fill in the blanks for me, please, Renee.
Okay.
The song that always makes me dance is
Let It Be by the Beatles. In fact, we sing it all the time in our house. My child was belting it last night in the shower.
Nice. We have that on our playlist because we're trying to have some family jam sessions.
Yes.
And that is on our playlist. Love that. Okay. How about the quote or mantra I share all the time is?
Yes. I shared it already. If you want to change the world, bring your checkbook by Mother Teresa, as per the internet.
Exactly. And everything you see on the internet is true. Abraham Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Okay, awesome.
One lies, other one swears to it.
That sounds like my children. Okay. How about the resource, book, or app that makes my life easier is?
Voxer.
Yeah.
Totally.
That has been mentioned before, and it will be mentioned again, especially if you are someone who likes to verbally process things or you want people to hear your voice. I don't know what that's like. And really, yeah, and it's a quick way, and you're like, okay, I'm all thumbs here. I don't want to type. It's a quick way to get your point across and to share.
I say it all the time. I talk better than I type.
There you go. All right. And last but definitely not least, what or whom are you grateful for today, Renee?
I am grateful for my health because it is never promised.
Yes. Amen to that. All right. Well, I am grateful for you.
And right back at you.
And have been for years, and especially that you joined me today. So let's talk about where we can find you online, what you have going on.
I am syndicated at this point, which I'm very thankful for. I have a fantastic team, but it all comes to my website. So if someone were to go to my website, they would be able to find all the places, all the things. And that is just my name.com.
And because it's spelled
weird, right? So yes. Renee, people love to misspell that, Renee, and Hribar, that H is silent. Every time I go to you walk up to a desk and you're here to see, and your last name is, I don't even say it because if I say it, they're going to say an R first. The H is silent, Hribar.
And I will have that linked in the show notes so you can click and go right to Renee and come hang out with us in the Facebook group. We'll have a blast. So yes. I will make sure you can get to Renee, come to me, say, I want Renee. I will send you to her. Not a problem. Thank you. Thank you, Renee, for shining your light in this world and for sharing it with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious and limited, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. If you have feedback, questions, or want to schedule a chat, head to positivelyproductive.com/connect. And if you are looking for any of the resources referenced on the podcast, from books to products to training and more, go to positivelyproductive.com/resources.